all the time. southernfm.com.au.
Pour yourself a coffee and pull up a seat. Join me, Lee Cummins, for Coffee Chat every Monday morning from 9 till 10 with a range of guests and a wide variety of music for you to enjoy your Monday morning coffee here on 88.3 Southern FM, Mondays 9 till 10.
Good morning. Welcome to Coffee Chat this morning, where the time now is coming up at 5 minutes past 9 here on 88.3 Southern FM. You're with Lee Cummins this morning right through until 10 o'clock. We've got a great show lined up for you today, including your week around the Bay and also your week in the stars. And that's what's happening around the Bay, not your week in the Bay. What's happening around the Bay and, of course, the stars that we always do every week. This week we have with our fabulous interview series, we have every week, and this week we've got somebody that I actually put a call out on social media because we'd had a couple of people contact the Coffee Chat website asking to find out more about the internet, more about what do I do, what's a hotspot, what is a personal hotspot, how do I put my phone to my internet, and all sorts of crazy things. So put a call out for a technology specialist and coach, and I have sitting in front of me one right now with Steph Gadden. Good morning, Steph.
Good morning, Lee.
It's lovely to have you on the program, because the world of the internet can be quite overwhelming, can't it?
Absolutely. And if you're not sure or you don't know the terminology, it can be very, very scary making choices and knowing if you've made the right choice for yourself.
Exactly, because you just never know these days. There's so many things changing, and it's a changing landscape.
Yep.
So one of the things that we hear a lot about, particularly in the news, is the NBN.
Yes.
So first of all, what is NBN?
So NBN stands for National Broadband Network. So NBN Co. is a completely separate company from all the other retail providers. So if you're thinking of your Telstra and your Optus and people like that, NBN Co. owns the infrastructure. They've laid the cables and they've built up the infrastructure, and they on-sell to retailers. Very similar to how we get our electricity or our gas. Okay. Now, NBN is primarily a fiber technology, so it's very fast, a new technology for delivering internet. There are other ways of delivering internet and broadband from the NBN. They deliver via what they call wireless technology, and they also deliver through satellite technology. And I think, let me jump into the differences of the things you can get. So
before we do,
yeah, sure,
because there's also ADSL2.
Yes.
So what's the difference between NBN and ADSL2?
That's a very good question. ADSL2 is a way of delivering internet through the old copper lines that our phone lines run on. And as you can imagine, copper lines are pretty old. It's an old technology, and there's a limit to how fast we can get our broadband and our speed of our internet. So it's really an old technology that's phasing out, and that's what ADSL2 is. It's the fastest broadband we can get, but running on copper lines.
Right.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's the NBN.
Yes, which is new.
Yes, absolutely. So, I've heard that once NBN is in your area, that you have to then take on NBN. Is that correct? That
is true. There is a lot of confusion around what that means, and people are talking about being cut off and, things like that. What happens is once they roll the NBN out into your area, you've got 18 months to switch over. And essentially that 18 months is about choosing a provider and a retailer that suits you, that has a plan that you want. The NBN Co. provides 4 different plan types, which come at 4 different speeds. And the speeds are really about what are you going to do with that internet. If you are browsing the internet, reading websites, maybe checking emails, and not much else, you don't need super fast internet. You can go for the cheapest, smallest plan. If you're working from home on a business where you need a lot of internet speed, you're doing a lot of work, you're streaming videos and live streaming through something like Netflix with HD videos, and you are working in a business with people in, your house, if you're a home-based business, or in your offices, then you probably need the NBN 100, which is the fastest speed one. You've got 18 months to make that decision. And there's a lot of noise coming from NBN Co. and from the retailers about how they're going to cut you off eventually. I think they're just pushing, personally. I think they're just frightening people because they want you to move. It's a good time to move to the NBN because they are incentivizing the move by making it much cheaper than your normal ADSL plan. If you're a home business, and I use that a lot because a lot of my clients are home-based businesses, now is a good time to consider moving over as soon as the NBN is launched in your area, because comparatively, for the same speed of the ADSL plan that you have, you will pay less for the equivalent NBN plan because they're incentivizing people and they want them to move.
Fantastic. And of course now we've got the onset of things like Stan, Netflix,
yes,
Fetch TV, all sorts of
that
things, which are all internet down streaming.
Streaming, yes.
Yep. So now we're using and more of the internet, not just for checking emails and web browsing. There's a whole lot more, which is our home entertainment as well.
Yes, it is, absolutely. And there's two middle-of-the-range plans, the NBN 25 and the NBN 50. The 25 is if you're going to be doing more than just reading emails and looking at, if you're streaming videos. And if you want to stream very high-quality videos, then you go for the NBN 50 or the NBN 100. Now, they are different prices depending on the retailer that you get them from, because remember, you can't buy this directly from the NBN. You have to go through somebody like Telstra or Optus or any number of other private providers that are now signing on to resell the NBN services. My personal opinion is if you need the NBN 50, you might as well take the NBN 100 because the price differential is so small, you may as well get the top of the range plan.
Okay, that's really good advice, Steph. Now, what's the difference between home Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi hotspots, and Telstra Air Wi-Fi?
Okay.
There's all these Wi-Fis.
Yes, all this Wi-Fi all over the place.
Yes.
So home Wi-Fi is essentially exactly what it always is. It's you with a router in your house broadcasting a Wi-Fi signal through your house where you can connect devices like your TV or your iPad or your phone or your computer even or your laptop. Wi-Fi hotspots are where private individuals in their own businesses, and you think along the lines of institutions or cafes or restaurants or hotels, they create what's called a Wi-Fi hotspot. So they broadcast that Wi-Fi through their entire premises for public consumption. So you can go to a cafe and hook into their Wi-Fi and use their Wi-Fi instead of your 4G data allowance. I have some advice around that because I'm not a big fan of public hotspots. If you're going to get onto a public hotspot, make sure that it has a password. If it's not password protected, don't use it. The reason being, if it's not password protected, anyone can get on, and there are a lot of people with less than best motives.
Yes, I hear you.
and if the Wi-Fi is not password protected, you have more chance of them doing things like spoofing you or watching what you're doing or kind of hacking and watching as you browse on your laptop and catching things like your passwords. Password-protected Wi-Fi hotspots are better because there's less chance of that. But even then, I don't recommend doing anything of great importance like your banking or anything like that on a public Wi-Fi hotspot, even a password-protected one. And then lastly, Telstra Air. So Telstra Air is a service that Telstra offers where when you're out away from your home, there's a special app that you can download and register with them. And instead of using your 4G data, if you're within range of one of their Telstra Air towers, they also call them hotspots, so it's confusing, you can use your home broadband instead to browse the internet and to do work and to do things like that. I know that there's a spot in Fed Square. Fed Square is one of those spots, and there's hundreds of them all over the place.
Because virtually what they've done is they've reinvigorated their old telephone boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you're anywhere near Fed Square and you've registered with Telstra Air, if you're a Telstra client, instead of using your 4G allowance, you can use your home broadband to do all the stuff you need to do on your phone. They also have an arrangement through Telstra Air with an international provider. So when you travel overseas, provided you have access to your data, you can browse the internet on your phone through, last time I checked, I think it was about 19 million hotspots worldwide, where you're actually using your home broadband allowance and not foreign data usage and incurring those massive big charges.
Which is just fantastic. I know when I was travelling a couple of years ago, we would determine where we would eat or have coffee based on could we get free air.
Yes, free Wi-Fi.
Free Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Telstra Air International wasn't available then.
Yep.
Which was a real shame.
Yes.
Because you're not using your internet at home when you're away, so you might as well use your allowance while you're over there.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned a couple of words.
Yes.
There was spoofing.
Yep.
And what's phishing?
Okay, so spoofing is where someone pretends to be you. So they copy a business website. It looks exactly the same. They overlay their own links onto buttons. So when you click on a button, let's say I'm using Telstra because we're talking about them. So the website isn't actually a Telstra website, but it looks identical. And the links are fake links that take you to places where viruses or malware can get downloaded onto your computer. So spoofing is where people pretend to be somebody else.
Right.
Phishing is a little bit more sophisticated, and I think the concept of phishing, people know what it is even if they don't know the word. Phishing is related to people trying to get your financial information so that they can hack your bank accounts and take your money and run your credit card up. How they do it is they send you emails that look like they're coming from big other companies. So all these emails that have been doing the rounds looking like they're coming from the ATO or looking like they're coming from
a bank.
A bank,
Yeah.
Your bank, it looks like it's Commonwealth Bank or ANZ, or any of the big AGL, providers, the electricity providers, those kind of big corporate companies where a lot of their logos and stuff is very easy to source, and you throw up an email that looks very convincing and send an email out to people that says, your account is overdue, click here. When you click that link, that's when they catch you, and they either install something that lets them monitor what you're doing on your laptop, and that's how they get your passwords, or they install what's called ransomware, where they lock down your computer. And phishing can happen via email. It can happen via social media. Any place where the person with not great motives can get you to take action by clicking on something that's not good for you.
You have really made this so simple to understand. It's fantastic. Thank you, Steph. Now, I just recently upgraded my computer, or my laptop actually. Prior to that, I was running XP.
Yes.
Because I didn't want to go to Windows 10. Don't worry, I'm on Windows 10 now.
I'm glad you are.
Yes, but what about if I continued on my old version of Windows? How safe is my computer on my laptop?
Okay. If you're running a computer that still has XP or Vista, my advice is to go buy another computer as soon as possible. A couple of months back, we had a really big global attack of ransomware that specifically attacked a vulnerability or a hole in security in XP and in Vista and in some older versions of Windows 7 as well. Now, why I'm saying buy another computer is that Windows stopped supporting both XP and both Vista ages ago. They stopped sending out patches, which means there are no more security patches coming. If you're on those versions of Windows, you are at risk every day. Now, you might not think that you have anything worth stealing, and that might be true. But people will hack you because they can use your email or your computer as a platform to attack other people. So if you're at risk, everyone that's connected to you is also at risk if you haven't got the right version of Windows on.
I'm so glad I made the decision to...
I'm very glad too.
I've been... my poor mum, she's running a Vista.
Yeah.
And I keep saying to her, and she's going, oh, it's so slow, and it's doing this, and it's doing that, and it's like, just go and buy a new laptop, Mum.
Yep.
So I'm going to play her this recording.
Play her that.
Yes.
What I also say to people in that regard, because I do get people who say to me that it's too expensive to buy a new computer or a new laptop, and what I do is I sit down and chat with them and have a couple of questions about what they use the computer or the laptop for. If you are browsing the internet, checking Facebook and reading emails, you don't need a whole new computer. You can buy a tablet. Mm-hmm. And that would be perfectly sufficient for what you need to do. You really don't need a whole computer just to do those things. The apps that come for things like Facebook or social media where you're keeping up with the children and the grandchildren and looking at pictures, they are really good, really intuitive and easy to use. So you don't need a whole new PC. You don't need to spend that much money. There are really good tablets out there that'll do the same thing and at a much lower price point.
Now, it's interesting because what about, say they were to buy like an iPad, mm-hmm. which she has got an iPad already, but
yes.
Say she bought an iPad. How secure is the iOS? Like we've talked about Windows
yep.
and Vista and Windows 10
yes.
and all that.
Yep.
But how vulnerable or how secure is the iOS?
So iOS in itself is actually much more secure in general than Windows. The reason for that is because Apple very tightly control the ecosystem of people that can put things into the iOS and the App Store. They personally test everything. You pay to list your app, even if it's a free app. So it's a very, very closely controlled ecosystem. So on the whole, it's generally more safer. However, it is a myth that you are perfectly 100% safe because there are viruses that will do damage on your iPad outside of the apps. And there are viruses that do target things like Macs and laptops that come from Apple. They're much smaller and fewer than the ones that target Windows, but there's a still small amount of risk, even though it is a generally safer environment to work in.
Fantastic. That's good to know. Now, you mentioned about when we go to free Wi-Fi,
yes.
That if it's password protected.
Yep.
What is the best type of password to use?
I'm so glad you asked that. I am a very big fan of what I call passphrases. So these are sentences that you make up. So your password actually ends up being very, very long because it's a sentence, a whole lot of words that you string together. Those are very hard for people to guess and to hack even through brute force means because it's so long it could be anything. The combinations are infinite. Okay. I would give you some examples, but my passphrases generally include a bit of profanity.
Right.
So I won't give you examples.
Not of yours anyway.
Not of mine anyway. I generally say to people passphrases are better than single words, and they're definitely much better than the general trend that people have where if your password includes any variation of any addresses that you've lived at in the past, your children's names, your grandchildren's names, your pets' names, past pets that may have passed on, birthdays, any number that's significant to you for any of those reasons, it's a bad password. Because those things are very, and you're pulling faces, yes. They're very, very easy for people to guess or work through something called social engineering. So, as an example, if you have a daughter who's just turned 21, you're going to go onto Facebook and you're going to be lovingly blessing your daughter for her 21st birthday and you're going to be putting up pictures of the party. Someone watching your Facebook page can very easily guess the year she was born, the date she was born. You're going, today, this day, at this hour, I gave birth to the light of my life, my beautiful daughter. Congratulations, I'm so proud of you. But now they have her full name, her date of birth, and any number of other things that matter to you because you've put it up there. Those things should not be in your password.
So something like instead of having Spot 221, for
yes.
example,
yeah.
It might be I take Spot for a walk.
Yes, that's a beautiful example for a perfect password because no one knows what it could be. It could be anything related to Spot. And if you throw a couple of numbers in there, like you say, I take Spot for a walk at 10 a.m. and the number 10 is 10, even better.
Ah, I like it. Now, we've heard about the cloud. Yep. I use the cloud. I love things like Dropbox and, there's the Google one and the Google Drive and there's all different cloud abilities now. Is the cloud really secure? Like, can I feel safe that my data's up there?
Yes. The short answer is yes. I will preface onto that the most insecure part of all of that is your password. And also keep in mind that almost everyone who provides cloud services, whether it's storage or working online or things like zero accounting, where you're doing your accounts, Well, Xero, not that to my knowledge, but almost anyone who plays in that space or who has a product like that has at some point either been hacked or had their security breached. So a security breach once in the past is not an indication that they necessarily are unsafe, okay? Most of the people who do that, when they do get breached, they up their security, they get better at it. In my opinion, at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, the most insecure part of any cloud account is usually the user's password, because the password's not a great password and they use it across all their services. So if you have the same password for your Facebook, your banking and your Dropbox, people just have to guess one of them and they have access to everything.
It's like the key to unlock the door to your whole house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Steph, this has been absolutely fantastic information, so thank you. Now, we've only got a minute or so left,
sure.
So let's do a real quick. What's ransomware? Because you did talk about ransomware.
Yes, I did talk about that. So ransomware is a type of virus where they download stuff on your computer, they lock it all up, they encrypt the data on your computer, and then you have to pay a ransom to unlock it. What I want to mention about that is that ransomware's been around a while. At the moment, what we're seeing is attacks of fake ransomware. So what happens is they get into your computer and they actually destroy the data. They don't lock it up or encrypt it, they destroy it. It's gone. And then they present a screen to you that looks like ransomware that says pay your $300 to this Bitcoin account up in Prague somewhere or the Czech Republic. And whether you pay the ransom or you don't, your data is gone. They have destroyed it. And the point of that type of virus ransomware that's faking is they want to destroy things. They're not interested in the money. They're not interested in getting money from you. And the only way to protect yourself from that is to have full backups of everything. Because if you get attacked by ransomware, my advice is don't even try and recover it. Don't pay the ransom. Take your laptop to a specialist, get them to wipe the drive and reinstall from scratch.
Absolutely fantastic information, and I would love to invite you back to Coffee Chat because I could sit here and talk to you for hours.
I'd be happy to do that.
Yes, I do love my technology, so
good.
Yes, which is always good. Now, Steph, being a technology coach,
yes.
You help obviously small businesses.
Yes.
You said that was your main sort of clientele.
Yeah.
But anybody else?
Yes, I do work with startups, people who are building new and exciting things. And I also work with larger companies where they need a person to manage or train their internal IT staff or create processes or install software for them and help them with that.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now, if you would like to get in touch with Steph, her website is Rocking Rose. I love that name, rockingrose.com. That's ROCKINGROSE.com, Rocking Rose. Now, if you would like to re-listen to this interview, because there is so much fantastic information on here, don't forget you can visit the Coffee Chat website at coffeechat-fm.com, and this interview will be up this week. At 10 o'clock, you can also go to southernfm.com.au and you'll be able to listen to the entire show. All you need to do is go to Program Guide, look at Coffee Chat, and there's a little play button there and you'll be able to listen to this interview right through until next Monday. Thank you, Steph. That website again is rockingrose.com.
Thank you, Lee. This was delightful.
Thank you.